Welcome to season 3 of Spotlight. You join us this time on the Linear Complex. We're currently booked on Hunts Corner. We have 3 days to get what we need to get. Jamie has just turned up and luckily he's got here in the nick of time because I have a fish down there in the net. I've had a morning bite and it looks like this session is going to go really well. So size is absolutely irrelevant when they're coming out like that with their beautiful winter colours. But I've actually got another one. So we'll give this one the credit it's due. There's a bigger one out over there. Dirty 30. I haven't picked one of them up for a while. Woo! But there you go. 2 bites, quick succession, and all that gave these fish away was 1 fish rolled. That's all I could go off. So I just fished 3 PVA bags, tight to where I see that fish show, and I've done 2 bites early morning. Couldn't be happier. I'm going to continue to do that and hopefully have some more. That fish has been moody the whole time in the mat, but then swings off like that. It's giving me liners on every single rod now. Unbelievable.
Right, go and have a coffee.
Yeah, that is needed. This is freezing. Holy look at that. Yes! Mate, you wait till you see this fish. Oh my God. That is a naughty fish. It's muddy, it's boggy, it's not enjoyable. But when you're catching fish and like that, it doesn't bother you. The elements, they can throw whatever they can at you now. Because if they're coming like this, there's fish still showing on that spot. Middle of January, it's freezing cold. And the fish are looking like that. I've got no words. I mean, look at that fish. That is mega. And the other side, it's near on exactly the same as the side I've just shown you. Oh, Hunt's mirror, buzzing, absolutely buzzing, and they're still there. Thank you. Winter fishing. Yeah, man.
Well, I'm finally here, 24 hours after Mr. Fuller arrived, and he's already had 3, so what a promising start we've got. We've got 3.5 days, weather permitting. If it does rain, this does act as a floodplain, so we could get pushed off here a little bit earlier than anticipated, but we're going to give it a good crack on the whip. We've already seen fish topping around in certain areas of the lake up this end as well. I've got the wind belting into this corner, and I'm more than optimistic of having something out of here. And I've just seen the fish top out there while we were speaking. So I'm going to have to be a little bit careful because the water level is up so much, and the edge of the swim is actually down here by my rod tip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put a bank stick here, sticking out the water, so I know not to go any further than that, because if I walk any further past that marker, I'm going to be up to there. So we want to keep it to there, really. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a little bit of a lead about now. Once I untangle the tip of my rod, still got a rig on there actually. Well, that wind really is whipping that line round, so I've got to be a little bit careful where it's coming through quite aggressively here. If I'm aiming to that corner where I've just seen that fish, the line is getting caught by the wind and bowing over the top of these reeds here, and I've got a tree line. So I'm going to have to put a heavier lead on here and really just ping it hard and put a little bit of resistance on that line just to take that bow out of it so I don't get caught up in the trees. And as we say, that, look, there's a float hanging out the tree there, so it happens quite frequently by the looks of it. Well, I found a nice area out there. It's pretty damn hard, and I'm going to get myself set up now and get some rigs out.
So, that was a phenomenal start, wasn't it? After all the disasters we've had. Trent View, completely iced over.
Not that I've seen the fish, but I've seen the photos, they look really good.
Yeah.
And it's nice, it's nice that something's come out, because it has been a struggle, hasn't it? It's been a real
It has
struggle.
been difficult, it's been demoralising over the past couple of months, really trying to make these episodes work, and then we've just had really bad elements thrown at us.
Yeah, well...
But we've tried, and we've continued to persist, and hopefully this is the beginning of something very good.
Yeah, well,
It's only the first day.
It's winter fishing, isn't it? You know, you've got to be on the bank to put fish on the bank. It doesn't always work out, but we've been the only ones on the bank, so you know we can't say we haven't tried. That's for sure. Anyway,
No,
it just
we
hasn't
most
gone
definitely
to plan,
tried. But
hopefully
we're still trying now,
this is
and
probably,
this time it's worked.
well, hopefully this is the turning point.
Yeah.
So yeah, looks.
Hopefully you can have some down in that corner. You've seen fish,
there's fish down there,
and I've seen one fish, and that's all I've gone off.
well,
So if you've seen more than one, and I've only seen one and had 3, you could have it off down there.
time
Hopefully.
we'll see.
We've got time.
I've got my last of my gear now, so once I'm down there, that's it. I ain't bringing them rods in until I get something on the bank. But yeah, last trip, 3 barrows lower. That's 2 barrows actually. 2 barrows. No, it's not. It's 1 barrow. It was 1 barrow and 2 walks. Shut up, you mug. Well, I've found 3 spots that I'm really confident of maybe getting something off of. That one particular, I've been watching now for the last hour, fish boshing out. All 3 rods are out, but this wind is really pushing now into this corner here. And I have got a rod out on the left-hand margin over that far bank, but I do feel that maybe I should be putting that one in this margin just down here. So as it gets into dark, I may just rearrange and shift my rods over a little bit and move that left hand rod down here. I'll keep baiting up down there because it'd be a good idea just to keep introducing a little bit of bait. We're here for 3 days, so a bit of pre-baiting always goes down quite well. So yeah, that may be just the pre-baiting spot, and I'll just shift that rod over. But this wind, like I say, is boshing into this corner, and I'm watching fish top all over the place here. So the rods are spread out quite a lot. I don't want to put too much line pressure in this swim. I've got the whole end of the lake to myself, so yeah, happy days. You don't often get that at Linear. Talk a bit now. Yeah. It's literally been dark about an hour, and my middle rod just absolutely ripped off, and I've ended up with this mid 20-pound mirror. So yeah, I was quite confident that rod was going to go, to be fair. It was one of the areas where I see fish boshing earlier. And yeah, she did go. 25 pound. Nice start. That's cold that water, isn't it? Cool, it's like an ice course. Thank you, boys. Hello, beautiful.
Jamie, guess what? I got another 30. Should I walk towards the water? Kid. You're a kid. Oh, that is ridiculously cold now. That temperature was proper dropped last night. I think it was exactly 20:07 because I just looked at my phone, had a line on the left rod, and the middle rod busted off. And luckily you was awake and weren't going, so I didn't have to stand there screaming, Jamie!
It's sort of like a cross between a lin and a half fully scale. In actual fact, it's got this side's got the patterns of a fish, very similar to a fishing garter on my lakes.
Wow, what a beautiful morning this is. The sun's out, it is cold, but I've not bothered. I've got another 30 in the mat. I've had a brace of 30s, 4 bites. In the middle of January, the fish have got leeches all over them, so you know they're sitting still. This is a location game. I've clearly got my location right. And to be holding fish like this up in the middle of January, I'm buzzing. Every single fish is falling to the Carp basics, pink, all nut pop up, with a bit of micro pellet just in a solid bag, and it's working wonders. But to be catching fish like this in the middle of January with how cold it actually is, you cannot complain. Yeah, absolutely loving this. Ah!
There she goes, she was ready. I've got a wet sleeve and it's freaking freezing. Good morning, don't know whether I've mentioned this before, but I'm at a different end of the lake to Mr. Fuller. I believe he's on peg 3, where I'm on peg 7, which is right up the very end. It's like a bowl area. We've got quite a bit of water here that I command because there's no one else up this end of the lake. There's actually no one else up the end of Fuller's end of the lake either. So we've ended up quite lucky. This lake is one of the ones that you book up on the Catch app, along with Manor Farm and Tar as well. So yeah, we've ended up lucking out a little bit. We've got the lake to ourselves. I'm up one end, he's up the other. And I had a fish last night, 12 o'clock. My right hand rod actually went into action, and it was the one that I had out on the left that I said I was going to move over to the right hand margin because the wind was pushing in there. So I'm really, really pleased that I moved that over. And yeah, and then I had another one this morning, just before light. The left hand rod, which is out on the heavily baited area, that actually went as well. So the 2 rods that have gone I've introduced a little bit of bait. Now the reason why I've done that is because I was getting some really, really funny knocks. When I brought one of my rigs in last night, it had been done and nipped to pieces with crayfish, by crayfish, where one of my rigs actually had the pop-up taken away and it just left the bottom bait because I was fishing a snowman on that. So what I've actually done, because of that and the crays in here probably smashing my bait up so quickly, I've introduced on 2 rods a little bit more bait than I would normally do this time of year where you're fishing for a bite in January in the middle of winter. And the 2 rods that have gone, funnily enough, are the ones that I've put a little bit more bait on. So I think there's enough other species of animals, wildlife, going down onto the spots that I've put that bait in. I've got coots diving as well, I've got crays, so I don't think I can go over the top really with the bait. So I'm going to continue for now to actually put a little bit more bait on the 2 rods that I've already heavily baited, leave one out as a little single solid bag, and just see what happens. I've got a funny feeling if anything's going to happen, it's going to be the baited areas, and I do need to keep introducing a little bit of bait frequently every now and again. That's what I've got in my own head. That's what I'm reading this lake as. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to make myself my coffee. I'm absolutely starving, and I've got some soup. I'm going to throw in the old frying pan and just mop it up with a bit of bread. So I'll keep you updated with anything else that goes on. Right, so while we're waiting for another bite, I think I'll go through what I'm actually doing regarding rig-wise and bait-wise. So I'm using a very, very basic rig here, and it is your typical blowback rig. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I use Complex T. Love Complex T. It is a great bait to use all year round. It is full of, it's just full of loads of decent stuff. However, I give it a little bit more of a personal enhance myself. So if you have a look at this bait I've got on here, it is a Complex T, but in this little pot here I have got my own little magical powder, which I basically dip the Complex T into a pot with some caramel syrup, and then I sprinkle it with powder, give it a good shake around and let it dry. Now this powder that I've actually got on here is pure liver. Liver is by far my most favourite bait edge that I use, and I've basically just given it away to all of you now. Liver, underrated, and everyone that knows what they're doing should always introduce a little bit of liver, whether it's a liver, a hydrolyzed liver in a liquid form or powder. But a powder on the bait, when that basically goes down into the water column, that is going to sit there and it is going to slowly break down, and it is going to put so much attraction in that water column, all wildlife homes in onto it. So going back to the rig, what I do is I slide the little rubber back down to the knot, a little bit of bait floss just to extend that hair, and I will slide that all the way down to there. I will then move the little bit of rubber all the way around to the corner, so it is level with the bait. Now the reason for that, that bait now is dropping heavy down onto that point, so when they do suck that up, the weight of that boilie is literally pulling that hook into dead centre bottom lip. Now both fish that I've had, it's hooked dead centre in the bottom of the lip, and that is why, because of that. Now with the bait floss, I don't burn my bait floss. I literally do a double turn loop and just tie it down. There's one, there's two, and that is literally it. I then cut off the tail ends of the floss and I don't burn it. I leave it like that. It makes no difference leaving them like that. What I personally feel with the burning, it can tarnish the bait. Bait floss is got like a wax on it, and I just think, you know, the less I can do to tarnish that bait, the better. I can't see no reason in burning the floss, to be honest with you. If you do a decent knot, leave that tag end on there so it flares out. It stops that from coming off anyway. So what I do now is the next thing, I will take that to the water. I will literally throw it into the water, make sure that that is balanced perfectly. If it's not, I will nip a bit off the pop-up or a bit off the bottom bait just to make sure that that sinks down really, really nicely and sits there wafting around on top of the hook. Now you have to be quick because I've coated these baits, so the less time in the water the better, because you don't want to be washing off that coating that you put on. I have on this trip then loaded that into a solid bag, long rig into a solid bag. That is literally going to sit there. Now if any fish comes along, they can suck that right up into their mouth, blow out, and they're absolutely nailed. I do actually prefer a slightly longer rig into a PVA bag. I just think a short rig, and I know it works, it's each to their own, but I think a short rig, potentially, if they're not right on top of the bait and they're trying to suck up from a little bit of a height, potentially that's not going into their mouth, and you can hook them on the edge of the mouth, and then you get a hook pull. I have had quite a few fish with short rigs in PVA bags where the hook holes have been, oh my god, that was lucky. I don't tend to get that with the longer rigs, so I go for a 6-7 inch long rig in a PVA bag as well, and I find that works really, really well for me. So that's what I'm doing. It's worked so far. Hopefully we'll have a few more on it as well.
Right, so I'm going to give you a little insight into my angling and the success that I've had since I've turned up here. Now, location for me is absolutely paramount, especially at this time of year. It's the middle of January, we've got a cold wind, the water's freezing, you need to find them fish. And the only thing really you can go off is showing fish, which won't usually happen that often, but they do show, you just have to use your eyes. Luckily, when I turned up, it didn't take long. The peg I was booked in, I did see one fish show in mid-water. And all I've done then is I've cast 3 PVA bags towards where I see that fish show, and it's resulted in, how many bites I had? 4? I've had 4 carp. I've had a brace of 30s, I've had 2 mid-20s, and I didn't put every single bag right next to each other. I spread them out because I wanted to locate exactly where these fish were holding up. And now I have had 4. They're all to the left of where I thought they were. There's still potential, more chances of fish now, but the way I'm fishing it is the exact way I'd fish at this time of year. So I'm going to show you exactly how I use my PVA bag. So inside of it, I get it as solid as possible. It makes it easier to cast. The lead's on the bottom, so I know it lays flat. I'll use a 6-inch hook link with quite a small hook, not too big, with a tiny little 10mm pop-up. I've just been using pinks. That is doing every single bite. Everything inside this bag is very, very small, because if you put anything that's too big inside the bag, you won't get it as solid as you want. You'll leave little air pockets. So everything is absolutely small. There's micro pellet in there, there's 2 stick mixes, and that is where I think I have a little edge. The 2 stick mixes I've got in there from Carp Basics, they activate when the water hits them, especially the red lobster. It's not red when it goes in, but as soon as that water activates it, it turns it bright red. And I like it doing that while it's in the water rather than activating it before it goes out. I think it's just a little bit of magic that happens on the bottom, and that's why I'm having bites. Maybe that's just in my head, but that's all I need, because I've done 4 bites, I've had a brace of 30s. This should work for you as well. So we're going into the night now, and Although I've had 4 bites out of that swim, just going for a little look down in this margin, because the water I'm fishing is quite close to this corner, as there's nobody in peg 1. And just trying to see if I can see any signs of fish, for a bit more information for me to go off. And one other thing that I forgot to mention in that last little update about when I was presenting my bags, is the crayfish are absolutely relentless. For the first night, that morning where I had them few bites, they weren't even out there long enough for a crayfish to find them. But this morning when I reeled in, every single pop-up was near on gone. So, and then I put, what's that plastic wrapping? Jamie, what's that plastic wrapping called?
Super wrap or something.
So yeah, it's some sort of plastic wrap that covers it to stop crayfish from being able to get you. Oh, they still got through that. So it is what it is. I've had to make changes, leaders, because I don't want to nick in my line or anything, just in case I do pick a fish up. I've had to go rubber baits because I couldn't keep a bait on there long enough. So any bait that I was putting out, which is just a bag, they're getting on that. So the fish ain't even got a chance. So I'm going to have to continuously keep redoing my bags and hope I put them in front of a fish to pick up quick bites. See what the night brings. So just to show you how much water we actually are having, and we're supposed to have more tonight, this is a river behind me and it's not far off from coming over. So depending on how much rain we have tonight, deters whether this one's going to meet that one. Hopefully not.
Dilemma time. I don't think they're here anymore. I'm hearing boshing halfway up the lake now. The wind was absolutely hammering down in this corner, and when it was doing that, they were topping down here, and I had those 2 fish. But that wind has switched around now, and it's going back up that way, and I think I'm pretty sure they're following it. I can hear them. I've walked around the corner, just round to where it's flooded, where I have to push the barrow, and I can hear them boshing out there. I can't see them, but they're there. So I'm gonna have to move. I know it's late, but I just feel like if I stay here, I'm not gonna get anything else. And I've just looked at the weather, and it's gonna continue pushing that way. I can feel it now on the back of my head as I'm looking down the lake, and I've got to follow the wind with the fish, I think. So I'm going to pack up and make that move now. I think so. It's definitely not happening down here now. And whenever I've moved before, it's always paid off. Got to follow your instinct and what you hear. I've heard them up here, so it's easy not to move. I know it's an effort, but there we go. Where I've been hearing them is in this mid body of water here. I was hoping standing here something was going to show quite obviously, but I think it probably will, probably in the next half hour. But I want to get my gear around here really, and even if I just stay here and swim with my gear just until I see a sign. If they're back up there a little bit, I'll move back up to the other swim, but I think here I can hit up there and here, command quite a bit of water. But if anyone else turns up who's due to be booked on and I'm in their swim, I'm going to have to move. I can't be calling the bailiff this time of night, but if need be, I'll have to go back to my other swim though, if someone else turns up. I don't think they're going to though. I'm not wrapping up now. I'm literally 1, 2, 3, feather, filling lead down, boom, crack. And it's like that literally all the way in front. So I'm just going to do a lazy 3-second cast, thumb it down, boom, fishing at about 75 yards. I'm getting approximately a 2.5 second drop, so I'm fishing about 10 to 12 foot of water out there. So that'll do. They are still out there. I've heard them crashing.
So after we went for that little walk, we wasn't exactly sure if we saw something. We could only go off a little ripple, but I've banged a single, just a PBA bag straight to it, and it's only been, what would you say, a couple of hours, Jay? I literally just put my head down for a nap as well, and the right hand rod's just pulled up tight. But where the water level's so high, so many trees and bushes. It's the first fish out of all the fish I've hooked that's gone under there, but it's grating on something. So I've just got to be really careful now, and I've got to hope it comes out. It's still attached, you can still feel it pulling. Just feels like it's wrapped around a little branch or something, but I don't want to pull it. Oh, them lines ain't making this easy. Oh well, looks like we're redoing all three of them then, doesn't it? But I think we found them again. That's a bit. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. All three rods are back out. Just as I landed that fish, we heard an almighty bosh from where I just had that fish. So hopefully tonight is looking very promising. The weather looks like it's changed. We thought we were going to get a big wind, lots of rain. We still are going to get some of it, but not as drastic as what they said. So go over there, get that fish out, lift that up, and I hope we have some more tonight. There it is. Another victim to the carp base, it all up, pink pop up. Calm before the storm, but it also just goes to show. Go for a walk, reel your rods in, go and have a look at a bit of water that you can't see from your swim. That's exactly what we did. We see a circle ripple, didn't see a fish, but didn't see any birds come up either, and it was enough to go off just to put one rod on it. And that's exactly what I did, and it resulted in this. So yeah, I'm over the moon, I'm buzzing with this. 5 bites now, an amazing session. Let's get this one back. Just before we landed this, heard a massive bosh. I think I already said that, but I'm going to say it again. So I'm pretty excited that the rods could go off again. But we'll see what tonight brings. Yes. That look quality, that. Only needs to be my eyes. Oh. Thoroughly enjoying myself.
Looks like it.
Even though it's bloody free. Oh, you stopped. Yeah, do you know, you do that every time.
Setting up.
I can't even see what's going on. That is such a...
Is it bright? Right, either after this very clip, there's going to be a storm going down, or it's going to be the morning.
That's right, mate. Anyone would think that he's just done a PB, but he hasn't. The bailiff's just told us we've got to get off in 2 hours, even though I've just done that move last night. What do we do? What do we do? I can't believe I moved last night. I think I was going to have 2 days in that swim, and we've been pushed off.
The effort that counts, I suppose. There was a possibility that, obviously, we had a fish that were boshing in that midway point of the lake. That pressure, just, what did it drop to?
995. We've got wind battering in our faces, rain, oxygenation of the water, low pressures, mild, cock on for a bite, and we got to go!
I'm not happy about it, but as I said, the whole session, we've got all the elements being thrown at us, and we've had a little bit too much of the elements thrown at us. So,
well, I suppose we better start packing up, because he said meet at the gates at 11. It's 9 now, and it's going to take us a while to pack up.
Can I just say, we have the worst spot like that?
No, we do. There's always something that.
This one's
comes
actually
into
been
it.
going really well. This is probably been my best one. I've top rodded you for the first time.
Yeah.
And then he gets cancelled! Ah!
The day was always going to come, and your time is here. Right, come on, let's pack up. We'll get out of here.
Cancelled.